So I found this free mower by using an app on my phone. But when I got there and picked it up, it looked a lot worse than this and I started having second thoughts. However, it's hard to pass up a free mower even if it's just for parts. Now the reason why I was so hesitant was because it looked like it hadn't been taken care of all that well. And as you're about to see, I wasn't that far off. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at this Toro lawnmower. And the problem is that it won't start, but if you prime it with fuel, it does run. It's unfortunate, but 99% of the time, the people who give these away don't tell you what's wrong with them. That means it's up to you to figure out what's wrong with it, and sometimes there's more than one thing wrong. I will let you know that diagnostic work is not everyone's strong point, so just be ready to ask for help if things don't make sense. Now the first thing I would recommend doing is taking note of all the stickers you can find on both the mower and the engine. This will hopefully give you all the information you need if you need to get parts for it. It's also a good idea to inspect the oil's condition and level since it is very important to its health. So luckily for us, there's plenty of oil in the engine and surprisingly it doesn't look that bad either, which is kind of odd. There's no way this was the original oil from a decade ago, and that means someone must have changed it rather recently. There's also plenty of gasoline in the fuel tank, so we can't be certain how long it's been unused for. Unfortunately, they didn't show the same kind of care when it came to the air filter, which is now clogged and has collapsed. So next, we'll try and start the engine, but to do that, we'll have to prime the carb with some fuel first. So if you didn't notice it, the choke flap was not closed like it should be for a cold start. That's why we need to prime it to start it. And that means we'll need to get to the carb for an inspection to find out why it's not working. But before we do that, I would like to take a look at the underside of the mowing deck. And what we find is not all that great as far as cleanliness, but we also spot yet another problem. So what you're looking at is the belt for the self-propel. And the problem is that there's a burnt spot on the belt, and if not taken care of, will mean a broken belt in the near future. But for right now, we'll just take the cover off of the belt, that way we can clean any dirt and grass clippings that might have collected underneath it. Now because of a lack of time and scheduling, I'm going to use my pressure washer to help clean up this mower. The reason why is because using my other sprayer and scraper would have taken at least 3 times as long. Now cleaning this part even once in a while could keep rust from destroying the mowing deck. Now because the rest of the mower was pretty dirty, checking the engine for dirt buildup might be a good idea as well. Remember, this is an air-cooled engine, so if the cooling fins are covered in dirt, it might cause it to overheat. And if it does overheat, it could cause the engine to wear out faster than it should. Now because the air filter was clogged and collapsed, it allowed dirt to get by it and the airbox is now covered in dirt. So we might as well take that part off and give it a good cleaning as well. So you can either wait a couple of hours for the water to evaporate, or you can do what I did, which was to use a leaf blower to speed up the process. So on first impression, it looks like the choke flap is stuck in the open position. But when the engine is cold, it's supposed to be closed, that way it'll pull more fuel from the carb, helping it to start. The choke flap will then stay somewhat open once the engine is running on its own. But what happens if the engine is not cold? Say you just shut it off after using it for a while, what happens to the choke flap? So in that situation, the thermostat that sits on the muffler will bypass the choke and keep it open since there's no need for it. So here's the problem. I was all set to take the carb off and find out why the choke wasn't working when I realized something. This carb was missing a lot of stuff, and for comparison, here's what it might have looked like. Now this carb is off a different lawnmower, and don't worry, it's not going to miss it. But what's missing on it is the actuator for the bypass system, not to mention the support for the thermostat linkage. I also took off the muffler from the other engine because the mount for the thermostat isn't the same. My plan is to put the muffler and carb from the other engine onto this engine, that way we can get it working again. And only once we know this engine runs and the self-propel works, we'll then buy the parts we need. So here's our first problem. Turns out the fasteners for the mufflers are not the same, which means we can't swap them. But it looks like one of the studs does line up, so we'll be able to install it for testing purposes. So what do I think happened to this engine? Well, it looks like they were having carb problems and decided to install a used one instead. There's just one major problem though, and that is there are several variations of this carb, which means variations in how they work as well. Unfortunately, they either didn't know that or didn't care because they tried to make a different one work on this engine. And if you weren't aware of it, anyone trying to fix and flip this mower was going to be in for a major headache. It's not very often that you'll find a mower in this condition where the previous owner's done this much work to them, but it does happen. I will let you know that finding the missing parts online are going to be impossible, and if we do find them, they might be really expensive. So I have seen a couple of videos where people have replaced this airbox with a much larger one, but doing that is only going to increase the asking price. Now the main reason why they're changing them is because it allows the use of a much larger air filter and a better cover that won't fall off. But the reason why the cover keeps falling off is because this tab gets really tired and will not grab the plastic opening in the filter base anymore. However, there is a way to fix this problem without having to replace it. What I like to do is to put pressure on the tab while heating the plastic. The weight of the pliers is more than enough force to help put the tab back into place. And only after a couple of seconds, the tab is now back into place where it's supposed to be and should work a whole lot better than it was before. And if you're wondering just how secure it is, well, it's not going to fall off anytime soon. Now because we want to test out the self-propel during our next test, I'm going to change out the belt. For this one, I'm going to go back to that parts mower and take off its belt. The reason why is because the belt that's on it is almost brand new with about 2 hours worth of runtime on it. And since the parts mower is not going to go anywhere because of some major issues, we'll put that belt to good use. Now I can't explain what happened to it other than it looks like the drive pulley was rubbing on it for a long time. So I probably should have taken off the blade for a balancing and sharpening, but we'll take care of that later on. Now if you're not comfortable with working the belt onto the pulley like I'm doing, then you can choose to loosen the guard around it to make it a lot easier. You're also going to need a square-shaped screwdriver to turn these fasteners, which many consumers may not have. Just make sure the belt is completely on the pulley before you secure the fasteners, otherwise you could damage the belt. So the belt I just installed was only $8, but they do make better ones for a lot more, so you'll have to choose which one you want. And once we get the engine cover and recoil back onto the engine, we'll then turn on the fuel valve and try starting it. So it did take 2 pulls to start, which isn't terrible, but how many will it take when it's hot? Strangely enough, it only took 1 pull, which is kind of odd. Now that could mean the valve clearances are off and we need to at least inspect them. There's also a slight miss while the engine is running, but that could be from the gasoline or a tune-up issue. Either way, we'll take care of the rest of it when we have more time to work on it. So this mower is in fair condition, at least from what I can tell at the moment. However, we'll get a better feel for it once we complete the maintenance on this mower, which I'm pretty sure has been neglected. I'm fairly certain that it hasn't been neglected all these years, but I'm sure there's at least one aspect that has been. So that's the item we'll be checking the next time we see this mower. Now for some of you, you'll already know what I'm talking about, but for the rest, I guess it'll be a surprise then. So my question is, have you ever tried fixing something before and gotten so frustrated with it and just gave up on it? And if that has happened, whatever happened to it? Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.